Hello, my name's Tyler from Big Bluff Ranch. I've been raising chicken on pasture for the past 15 years, and I have dove deep into the world of chicken production. And I now know a silly amount about it, more than you ever need to know, but I will definitely share my knowledge with you. What is organic chicken? The thing you need to know right off the bat is that organic chicken is not quite what you think it is. It's not Old McDonald's farm. There's not a red barn with chickens out on the grass and the milk cows and the farmer in overalls. That's not what organic chicken is. Organic in general is just about the chemicals that go into the system. So, organics is making sure that there's no antibiotics, there's no growth hormones, that the feed they eat doesn't have any pesticides or herbicide used on it, and it doesn't really talk about animal welfare standards, but we're going to dig into all this a little bit later, so keep paying attention. So, why is organic chicken more expensive? Well, it's because it's better. Conventional guys, their whole job is to raise chicken cheaply, and they do little tricky things to cheat. So, they get to put more chickens in a barn, which makes it cheaper to grow per square foot. But then they have some potential health issues that they have to counteract using antibiotics. They can use cheap corn out of the Midwest and they can use Roundup for weed control, which isn't probably the best. Organic doesn't get to do that. They have to use good, clean organic feed, which is more expensive. They have to raise animals in a more healthy manner, which is more expensive. So organic is more expensive because it's done right and you get what you pay for. Hi, I'm Tyler from Big Bluff Ranch. I raise certified organic, no corn, no soy, pasture raised chicken. And I want to answer the question for you. What is organic chicken feed? Organic chicken feed really is talking about how the grain was grown. And it means that there were no synthetic chemicals used for the most part. So that means there's no herbicides, there's no pesticides, there's no fungicides involved. It's just a healthier way of growing grain, which makes for better chicken feed, which makes for healthier chicken, which makes for a healthier you. So, are antibiotics and growth hormones allowed in organic chicken? The answer is no. No antibiotics and no growth hormones. And this is actually one of the best parts of certified organic chicken is that it cuts out the antibiotics. So when you use antibiotics to grow chicken cheaply, they use them in subtherapeutic levels, meaning that chickens are not sick before they receive the antibiotics. And that eventually creates superbugs, which eventually can get into humans and create big issues. So, superbugs is bacteria, generally speaking, in chickens, you're talking about E. coli and salmonella that will get humans sick. And right now, we can use antibiotics to treat them. However, when they're used in chickens subtherapeutically, chickens become a breeding ground for bugs that are resistant to these antibiotics. Those bugs can get into the food system and can get people sick. And when you get sick from a superbug salmonella, you go to the doctor and try and grab some antibiotics. If it is a superbug, those antibiotics are not effective and you don't get better from the antibiotics like we could now. So we want to reserve that healing capability of antibiotics for human use. So by prohibiting antibiotics in organic chicken, we are not encouraging the creation of superbugs, which is a good thing. Support that. Growth hormones. Now, this is just kind of crazy marketing. There is actually no such thing as a synthetic growth hormone in chicken. So you couldn't give it to them even if you wanted to. So the fact that you see everywhere, no growth hormones added in chicken is complete BS because there's no growth hormones that could be given. It's kind of just a ridiculous marketing statement. But The real thing about certified organic chicken is that there's no antibiotics involved. Organic chicken, access to outdoor. You expect to think that organic chicken has access to the outside, that they are living on old McDonald's farm. But that's not really what the organic standards are talking about. Organic standards say that chickens should have access to the outdoors. What that means in a big conventional barn that there'll be little tiny doors that chickens can go out if they want to, but they don't. And if they did, they don't have access to very much. It's just basically an outdoor patio. Oftentimes it'll have gravel, or if it is natural, it's going to be, pounded down dirt, nothing there. Organic chickens does not mean pasture raised chicken. Why does organic chicken even talk about the space requirements for chicken? Don't all chickens have the same space? Well, the answer is no. Conventional chickens are grown to be as efficient as possible, which means that they have the minimum amount of space required, which is maybe 3/4 of a square foot per bird, which is less than a sheet of paper. So, an organic chicken, because they don't get to use antibiotics, they can't overcrowd and overstress the birds. They have to give them more space. So this is a way that organic standards increase animal welfare by giving them more space to move. But the tricky thing here is that organic standards say that it shouldn't be more than 6 pounds live weight per square foot, which is a weird metric. But basically, a 6 pound chicken is basically a full grown chicken, and a square foot is about a piece of 8.5 by 11 paper, maybe a little bit more than that. But the idea is that's how much space an organic chicken gets, is they get to live on a piece of paper. Maybe it's an A4 piece of paper, but that's how much space they get for their entire life. And so what we do as pasture raised poultry is we give them acres of space. We don't even calculate square foot per bird. It's a meaningless metric if they're on pasture. So, chicken welfare. It's a nebulous concept. How do you measure? How do you quantify? How do you honor the chickenness of the chicken? How do you put that into a standard that can be third party audited? Well, the conventional guys don't have guys. Their mandate is to grow chicken as cheaply and efficiently as possible. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to grow them fast, they're going to grow them well. But they are going to take their cues more from the marketplace for a cheap chicken rather than worry about the animal welfare. And that is what organic chicken does make a nod to. So when we're talking about their feed, it's probably a little bit better feed. When we're talking about their space requirements, it's a little less crowded, a little less stressed. So organic certification does make a nod towards animal welfare. All farmers are going to grow their chickens as well as they possibly can, but organic set some bars that you have to meet that are going to make a healthier, happier chicken. And if you really want to blow the standards out of the water, get yourself some pasture raised chicken. That's going to be the best possible. So, to be considered an organic chicken, organic means that it's a complete value chain, the complete production chain. So that means it reaches all the way back to the ground that the feed was grown on, and it goes all the way out to the retail store that you buy it from. All of those components have to be certified organic. And one major component in that is chicken processing, where we take it from live chicken to something you can get from the grocery store. And it's the one bad day that our chickens have. It's just kind of unavoidable. So, organic chicken processing has a few requirements. There are nods to animal welfare, the color of the lights, the way of euthanization. But the biggest thing is the chemicals that they use. Conventional guys can use chlorine, which is, that's pretty toxic stuff, especially the way they use it. Organic processing, they have to use something called acetic acid, which is basically what you get in vinegar. So they use high power vinegar. So you're basically talking about the chemicals they use. And I, like you, probably would prefer to use vinegar rather than chlorine. So the worst practices of conventional chicken. Before we get into that, you just got to know that farmers are doing the best job they can, the best they know how. Their mandate has been to grow cheap chicken. When you go to the grocery store and you've been buying chicken and you're looking for that 99 cents a pound chicken, that's what they have gotten in their head as their job to grow cheap chicken. And they've done it. There are farmers out there making a good living selling you 99 cents a pound chicken. But our market desire for cheap chicken has created some pretty terrible practices. So the list gets pretty long pretty quick here. We've covered a lot of it in this article. The first thing is they crowd their chickens in way too tight. Increased density means that disease travels faster. So that means that a house full of chickens crowded in tightly, if one bird gets sick, they're all going to be sick. So that means that they have to use a lot of antibiotics. And we talked about antibiotics and superbugs. So when a conventional guy's trying to grow cheap chicken, put a lot of chickens in a house, they're going to end up using a lot of antibiotics to keep those chickens healthy. Then they need the cheapest feed possible. That's talking about all sorts of corner cutting production practices on the grain farm side of things. GMO corn, lots of Roundup ready soy, large acreages, not worried about the environment. So that's kind of where all these things are happening. Basically, when you get cheap chicken, you are not paying the full cost of that chicken. Other people are picking it up. The chickens themselves are paying for it in their quality of life. The chicken farmers are paying for it in their quality of life. The grain farmers are paying for it. The Midwest fertility of the soil is paying for it. Actually, you're even paying for it through the Farm Bill. The Farm Bill subsidizes corn and soy. The only good thing about it is that it is cheap. Everything else behind the scenes, it's really not something that you want to support. You understand that what goes into conventional chicken is designed to be cheap. It's not designed to be healthy. It's not designed to be flavorful. It's just designed to be cheap, and cheap tends to be bland, right? So cheap also means not to be healthy. Conventional chicken is not designed to pack in nutrients. Nowhere in the production chain is vitality meant to be encouraged. It's all the way from the ground to the grocery store is meant to be cheap and efficient. And that's what you get. But there's some problems with that, right? It's boring, doesn't taste great, it's not super healthy for you, not super healthy for the animal or the ground or the environment. And organic chicken tries to turn that on its head. Organic chicken says that there is value here and that what we eat does matter and what we eat eats does matter. And organic sets standards at each step of this production chain as well as it can. It tries to ensure healthy, productive fertileness all the way down to the ground. No GMOs, no pesticides. That means the soil is reasonably healthy. The animals, no antibiotics. That means they have to be grown well. No growth hormones, not that they can have any. Their feed has to be organic. That means the feed itself doesn't have any glyphosates or bad stuff in it. When we get up to the processing, there's no chlorine, there's no this, there's no that. The processing is good. So that organic chicken means that every step of the production chain, for the best of its ability, there's no bad stuff in there. Are there wiggle room in the organic standards? Can you find flaws in the organic standards? Absolutely. Organic chicken is not the absolute best. We've talked about that. It's not the old McDonald farm that you would imagine it to be. Is it better than conventional chicken? Absolutely. Way better than conventional chicken. But if you really want the best organic chicken, you especially need to talk to a farmer who is talking about pasture raised. If you want the best chicken, you're looking for an organic, you're looking for a pasture raised, and probably, but arguably not, no corn, no soy feed. You find a pasture raised, organic, no corn, no soy chicken, you've found pretty much the best chicken that you can grow because it honors every single step of that chain. It just hits all the spots. And really, the best thing is that chicken's going to be amazingly flavorful. That if you ever hear someone say, it's boring, it tastes like chicken, you get a chicken that's grown on pasture, tastes like chicken, goes from being a slur to like a compliment. Like, wow, this tastes like chicken. Tastes like grandma's chicken. Yeah, look for some organic pasture raised chicken. You'll enjoy it.